I've never met someone who's been on a meditation retreat, but I'm not surprised it's you because you've got that kind of flavor to you. I think if Buddhism has a texture, that you have that texture, and if atheism has kind of a texture flavor to it, then I've got that, because my general attitude toward life is kind of, life is short, memento mori, amor fati, death is not this monster that we encounter at the end of time that swallows us once, but instead it's a much smaller, more everyday monster that eats us in moments. We kind of have to encounter the theory of death long before we have to face death itself. And that's okay, say the Stoics, right? That's okay, say the atheists and the secular people, because we are big enough to take an uncompromising look at death and look it squarely in the face. And it's precisely actually the encounter with the monster of death that infuses our time with meaning, right? Because they say that life would be meaningless without death. As William Blake had put it, eternity is obsessed with the productions of time, the limitations of time. So clearly there's like a paradoxical relationship between eternity and limitation. And Nietzsche pointed out another paradox. He said that pain is the great liberator. So he's drawing this parallel between pain and freedom, right? There's a certain pain to living as an atheist, as a secular person. We know that this is all short and sweet. And I know how difficult atheism is after having that contrast of having lived under Mormonism, because it's not difficult to live as a Mormon. It's like a sweet wine. It's delicious to live as a Mormon. What's difficult is atheism. Now, the unpacking Mormonism has a certain hangover. So I'm not saying that, in the aftermath, there's a lot of work to do, but living inside of a religious structure that kind of deludes you into certain comforting lies, there's nothing difficult about that. The pain is really leaving systems like that. I think there was never anything more profound that J.K. Rowling said throughout Harry Potter than in the Deathly Hallows. If you recall, the three brothers that each had separate gifts, and one of the brothers constantly was skirting death, like escaping death. He had the gift of invisibility. But death finally caught up with him in the end, and the two left this world as equals, or as J.K. Rowling had put it, as old friends. And that kind of sounds to me very Stoic. Sounds like memento mori and amor fati, because these sorts of things essentially bump you outside of your comfort zone. You don't get the luxury of living in the comfort zone if you indulge in amor fati and memento mori. You're either grappling with the monster of death, or you're riding the high of having cheated death for the moment. And there's a certain appreciation that comes from that, I think. When you know that this monster is hunting you down and counting down your clock, but that he hasn't claimed you yet, that in this moment, you are free, you are victorious, you're even transcendent, right? It's almost like that light that we get to appreciate only when contrasted against a certain darkness.